Well, hello there. I apologize for stopping by before the episode even properly starts, but I have a few words to say. It will take only a moment. If you really want to skip it, go to the time on the screen. Alright, so the mini announcement. First, I just lost my job, so now I'm happily unemployed. Meaning I have more time for YouTube overall. So expect a slight increase in terms of number of videos being posted. Next, I extend my thanks to Rick and Ultrasound7, who are at the moment basically bankrolling the art commissions for the Star Wars x Warhammer 40k series. Art of characters, events, battles and so on is created, for the most part, thanks to their support. And I can't thank them enough for that. I also ask you to support the art commission budget through Ko-fi as well. Every dollar counts. Currently I'm working with few artists. Those who know my previous work know that I used AI art before, mostly because I was totally broke. Now, thanks to your support, I can commission art from real artists. Finally, the Hutt University Discord server is public now, so you are welcome to join. You can ask questions, post fan art, fan writing, all are welcome, as long as you are at least pretend to not be vicious animals. Everyone got that? Good. I hope I don't need to remind everyone about certain buttons under the video and about supporting me through Patreon, especially now. Well, that's life. No reason to cry over spilled milk. Let's get back to the story, shall we? The elevator doors slid open to reveal an alloy nightscape. Neon lights flickered over Grime's slick streets, and shadows that whispered danger. The air reeked of chemicals, rot, and lost dreams. Dane inhaled deeply and exhaled with a crooked grin. Good old Underhive perfume, he said, glancing back at his two companions. Breathe it in, girls. Smells like liberty and progress in the Republic. A dark chuckle rolled from his throat. Lina didn't laugh. Her eyes scanned the perpetual twilight, where sunlight never reached. She stepped out cautiously, ensuring her cloak concealed most of her gear. Not that they were trying to hide. I suggest you keep your hood up, Dane added. What falls from above isn't rain. Lina shuddered and drew her hood tighter. She glanced at Silent Tide, who exhaled slowly, adjusting her cloak and the broad round hat that shielded her from view. 3 drones hovered close. A shield drone, a gun drone, and a small assistant drone, each prepared personally by ForgeMind for this mission. Apparently, to keep everyone safe. Let's move. We've got an appointment, Dane said, taking the lead. And I hear being late is bad manners. Niatel followed closely. Lina stayed at the rear. The shield drone hovered above Silent Tide, its passive energy field catching occasional heavy droplets falling from above. The gun drone circled above them, scanning their surroundings with twin pulse carbines. The assistant drone floated silently at Niatel's side, always within arm's reach. eyes watched them from the shadows. Human, near-human, and utterly alien. Some glared with malice, others with interest, and some with greed. A scammer, a twitchy Rodian, made a move towards them, but one warning grunt from Dane sent him skittering into an alley. They were making good time. In just few minutes they'd reach their destination. But nothing in the undercity was ever that simple. "We are being followed," Lina's voice cracked through their comms. "4 hostiles? Looks like local scum."
Good,"
Dane replied calmly.
"You spotted them quicker than I expected. How?"
"Reflections. And I've enhanced my sense of touch through my feet. I can hear them too. Their basic is heavily accented, but I think they are interested in Niatel." A pause. "And me, apparently." Dane snorted.
"Creeps are universal constant. I will handle it. 10 paces ahead. On my mark."
He stopped, and the woman walked the 10 paces forward, then halted. Dane turned to confront the tale. 4 figures. 1 human, 2 Trandoshians, one with dark scales, the other with bright green, and a near human with a crown of horns. Likely a zebrak, though Dane never bothered memorizing every subspecies. They wore matching colors, black with yellow stripes, like trashy cosplay of Iron Warriors. Probably local gang, armed with cheap blasters and knives. Nothing heavier than a pistol. Amateurs.
"Gentlemen,"
Dane said pleasantly as they hesitated at being spotted.
"May I ask why you are following us?"
The dark-scaled Trandoshian stepped forward, his grin razor sharp.
"This is our turf. You want to pass, you pay. Credits, spice, or slaves,"
he said, eyeing Lina and Niatel. Dane chuckled coldly.
"They are not for sale. And why would I give you even half of a broken credit?"
"Consider it a tax. Payment to keep your life,"
Trandoshian hissed. Dane's smile faded, but his tone stayed casual.
"Because I'm in generous mood, I will give you a chance. Turn around and run. I will count to 5.
The gang laughed. Weapons came out, though none were aimed yet. The leader drew particularly large blaster, thinking it made him threatening.
"I will give you a better deal,"
the Trandoshian snarled.
"I will count to 3. You give us the girls, or we skin you alive."
He let out an amused sound out of his throat and aimed at Dane.
"What say you, friend? Ain't that generous deal?"
Dane's tone dropped.
"Then I won't bother to count to 5.
In the blink of an eye, decades of experience took over. In one swift motion, Dane threw 2 daggers, one from each hand. Both sank all the way to the hilt in the throats of 2 of the opponents. Before the remaining two could as much as raise their weapons, two cables shot out of Dane's cybernetic hand, hitting them square in the chest. Less than a half a second later, a lethal current hit the remaining two gangsters. Electricity coursing through their body, both squeezed the triggers of their blasters. The Zabrak convulsed violently. His blaster fired wildly, blowing off his own foot, then most of his thigh. He collapsed, twitching in the pool of his own blood that was gushing out of a ruin of a leg in all directions. The Trandoshan leader managed to shoot in Dane's direction, but the first bolt fizzled against Dane's refractor shield built into his armor. More shots followed, harmlessly absorbed by Dane's defenses or the shield drone above Niatel. Screams erupted, bystanders scattered. Some fled into the alleys, others stood frozen in shock. Dane reeled his cables and moved forward. The Zabrak was dead. Fried, leg shredded. The young human was kneeling, hands clutched to the dagger in his throat, choking on his own blood. The Trandoshan leader lay twitching, smoke rising from his body, barely alive. The green-scaled Trandoshan was still upright. Somehow, despite the knife buried in his throat, he reached for his backup pistol. A foolish mistake. Ex-stormtrooper pulled out his hand cannon with his cybernetic hand, aimed and fired, without breaking his stride. The custom-made heavy-grade revolver would break a wrist of any normal man trying to fire it. Thankfully, Dane's cybernetic hand didn't have this limitation. The expensive, large-caliber weapon had more in common with a bolter pistol than anything else. And so, it had similar effect. The round hit center mass. The explosion ripped the gangster's torso apart. Bone and green gore spattered the pavement before what remained of a fog hit the floor. This time, the crowd truly fled. Dane lowered his revolver and moved to the kneeling human, whose eyes started to be covered by fog. Yet, the terror was still there. He leaned in, grabbed the handle of a knife with his right hand, and effortlessly lifted the man up until they were standing eye to eye. Silent words begging for mercy were cut short, just as his nerves. The gangster stood there, spark of life extinguished. Marek pulled out the knife in one swift motion and cleaned it off on his cape. The corpse remained standing for 3 seconds before collapsing, remembering it was a corpse. Finally, Dane moved to still twitching leader of the group. He was trying to reach for his blaster pistol, but his hands betrayed him. He couldn't get a grip. Dane placed the boot on the Trandoshan's neck.
Please,
he croaked. Crack! Dane stomped his neck. Silence. He turned to the gory remains of the other Trandoshan and retrieved his other knife. Uncaring for the stares of a few remaining people hiding in the shadows. He cleaned off the blade and joined Nilina and Niatel, who were waiting for him in total silence. Silent Tide remained impassive. Lina likewise showed no discomfort. Good. A combat psyker squeamish at the sight of blood would be useless. He was about to say something but paused, noticing something in the puddle on the ground. A reflection. Someone was watching from above. He smiled to himself, amused, but didn't react in any way to the not-so-hidden observer.
"Let's go," he said. "We've wasted enough time."
The woman nodded. The three moved on, while two hooded figures watched them from the rooftops above. The guards at the entrance didn't cause any trouble. A quick call, a confirmation of identities, and the trio was ushered into the building, one of many undercity clubs. Thankfully, they didn't need to pass through the roaring crowds below, where smoke engulfed dancers swaying to the voice of some alien singer. Instead, they were led down a quiet hallway with a good view of the club, eventually reaching the private chamber of their gracious host. Ziro the Hutt sat in his usual spot, puffing from a water pipe while speaking with a bounty hunter, one of the Mandalorians. Clad in black and green armor, he deactivated a holodisk the moment the trio entered, the image of his bounty fading. He eyed them for a few seconds, then turned back to Ziro.
"I accept the bounty, except to hear from me soon,"
the Mandalorian said in a neutral tone. "I shall await your return, Nava. And please..." "I know it's officially dead or alive, but I would greatly appreciate if my dear associate was returned still breathing." Ziro replied with a slight chuckle.
"No promises,"
the Mandalorian muttered before heading towards the exit. He slowed as he passed the trio, locking eyes with Dane. The two sized each other up. After a long moment, Nava gave a respectful nod. Dane returned. No words were exchanged. Ziro exhaled a puff of smoke and turned his attention to the newcomers, intrigued by Niatel and her companions. He wasn't alone in that. Security droids, mercenaries, bounty hunters, and other underworld scum studied them with wary curiosity. No hostility, not yet. "Ah, you must be Silent Tide. Niatel, diplomat of the Tau Empire," Ziro said with his usual sly charm, eyeing the watercast emissary. "I bid you welcome to my humble abode, in the name of the Hutt clans. I extend the gratitude of my empire for your generous hospitality," Niatel replied smoothly, stepping into the political dance. She approached alone, with Dane and Lina remaining in the back as negotiations began. "Generous indeed, my dear diplomat. I'm glad you answered my invitation so swiftly, though I must admit, I'm disappointed the ethereal is not present." Seeker Lifesight was invited to an informal meeting by Chancellor Palpatine, she explained. "I'm sure you understand that such meeting could not be denied, just as this one could not." Ziro breathed deeply from his pipe, exhaling through his nostrils with a thoughtful hum. "Ugh, I agree. Establishing relations with the Republic must be priority for your empire." But I'm pleased you didn't ignore the importance of the Hutt clans.
How could we? She said in a silky tone. The Hutts control much of the Outer Rim, including the regions surrounding the space where the Tau Empire arrived.
Hutt's eye twitched. For all his faults, Ziro wasn't a total fool. He noticed the hidden meaning behind her words. Silent Tide specified that the Hutt territories surrounded the Tau Empire, not that the Tau Empire was transported into Hutt space. An intentional statement. A message. Yes, the Outer Rim is vast and dangerous. Few civilizations thrive out there, but the Hutts have dominated it for millennia. Ziro said as he inhaled more smoke, savoring the tingle in his throat. And in such places, people need allies. Niatel didn't even flinch, unmoved by the hidden threat.
Generous Ziro, the Tau have many allies. We are a commonwealth united in one purpose, she replied. As you can see, I'm accompanied by our allies even now, and we are stronger than you might think.
Really? Ziro tilted his head. What can a middle-aged man and a girl do that might impress me? He sounded dismissive, but all three knew he was bluffing.
Don't pretend you don't know about the four who tried to slow us down,
Dane said coldly.
This is your territory. I doubt anything happens here without your knowledge or approval.
His voice took on a dangerous tone. Ziro shivered despite himself.
Don't get me wrong,
Dane continued.
I don't hold it against you. I serve a rogue trader after all. I know how the game is played. However,
he slowly placed a hand on his sword and drew it out. Instantly, blasters were drawn. IG droids aimed their rifles, but Marek remained calm, unmoved.
If you want to intimidate someone like me,
he activated the energy field on his power blade and lowered it until it touched the floor. Gasps rippled through the room as the blade sliced effortlessly through the stone, the energy field heating and melting it on contact. Unlike a lightsaber, the blade periodically discharged arcs of energy that flung molten stone in all directions. Ziro clenched his jaw, trying to appear calm as Dane withdrew the blade with a dangerous smirk.
You will need to step out your game,
he chuckled.
As for what the girl can do.
At those words, Lina pulled back her hood, revealing her youthful face and striking violet eyes, now glowing with power. Ziro flinched as electricity danced between her fingers and across the floor. Lights flickered not only in the room, but across the entire building. Mercenaries stepped back, unnerved. Many knew the tales of the Jedi and their Force abilities, but none heard of something like that before.
You don't want to know what the girl can do,
Dane concluded, satisfied by the reaction. Lina deactivated her powers, her eyes dimming. Ziro stared, shaken. You are a Force wielder? We use term Psyker, Lina replied. And yes, I am a combat Psyker in service to the
Blackthorn rogue trader dynasty, an ally of the Tau Empire.
Ziro was momentarily speechless. Silent Tide stepped forward, an overly pleasant smile on her face.
As you can see, generous Ziro, the Tau have powerful allies, and we intend to make many more. We come from a dangerous galaxy filled with enemies, and we preferred not to make new ones here. It's important to not make new enemies.
The subtle threat wasn't lost on Ziro.
Wouldn't you agree?
Ziro cleared his throat, regaining some composure.
Yes, I agree. It's wise to avoid making new enemies,
he said carefully.
Which is why I must ask, what are the Tau Empire's intentions? The same as they always been,
Niatel answered smoothly.
To spread the teachings of the Tau Va and ensure the security of our empire.
Ziro narrowed his eyes.
A word of warning. Many civilizations in the Outer Rim hold to their traditions. Convincing them may take time and may lead to conflict. We are nothing if not patient, generous Ziro. We can take our time teaching those who will listen or persuade them by other means.
Her voice was still polite, but the undertone was sharp.
With so many dangers out there, pirates, warlords, slavers, I imagine many would welcome our protection.
Ziro's eye twitched. Another challenge, veiled in diplomacy.
For an empire that claims to seek peace, you seem to walk the path of conflict,
he said, exposing the contradiction. Niatel giggled at that.
Apologies. I just remembered an old human saying from our galaxy. If you want peace, prepare for war.
Her lips smiled, but her eyes were as cold and dark as the deepest part of the ocean. Ziro nodded slowly.
Yes, there is wisdom in that. Peace is fragile, especially in the Outer Rim. I'm sure the Tau Empire and the Hutt clans can reach a beneficial understanding. Thank you for coming and sharing your intentions.
And we thank you for your generosity, mighty Ziro, Niatel said, bowing her head. I'm sure we will see each other again soon. With your permission, we shall take our leave.
Safe travels,
Ziro replied, masking his irritation with a false smile. The trio turned and departed. The mercenaries watched them closely as they exited the chamber. Once they were gone, Ziro facade collapsed, his expression twisting in frustration.
Leave, all of you. Only the droids stay,
he barked. Mercenaries and servants quickly cleared out. Ziro inhaled deeply from his pipe, then turned to a nearby protocol droid.
Contact the clans. I want a full conference immediately. Tell them it's urgent.
The droid nodded and left to carry out the order, leaving Ziro the Hutt to stew in his smoke-filled chamber, his mind racing to decide what to do about the Tau and their upstart empire. The trio emerged into the undercity, making their way towards the elevator system that had brought them down. This time, however, they walked shoulder to shoulder, tightly grouped. Above them, the shield drone activated, forming a shimmering sphere of energy. It was finely tuned to block all sound from leaving the bubble. At the same time, the assistant drone inside and the gun drone outside began emitting white noise, forming multiple layers of interference. No listening device would catch a single word.
So,
Dane said, speaking in a particular variant of Low Gothic.
did it work?
It did. We have eyes and ears on the inside. Niatel confirmed with a small nod before turning to Lina. You did splendidly, my dear. It wasn't that hard. The teenage girl blushed. Well, no, it was. Turning electrical discharges to a specific frequency is very difficult, but I managed.
That you did.
Dane said, his tone approaching a compliment.
Though I must say, for an Earthcast, Forgemind is quite sly. Are you sure he doesn't have a touch of Watercast in him?
Niatel giggled, recalling her earlier conversation with Forgemind when she had skillfully maneuvered Vec into revealing far too much about the Senate's inner workings. No, but I appreciate his creativity. While everyone was distracted by Lina's display, we planted a spy drone directly in Ziro's chambers. She said, rubbing her chin. Now we just need to hope my psychological profile of him is accurate. If it is, he won't waste time calling the other clans. So we will know what they are planning before they act? Lina asked. No, Niatel said, shaking her head. The spy drone doesn't have a long-range transmitter. If we want the data, we will either have to return and retrieve it, or wait for it to extract itself. Lina frowned. But doesn't that leave us vulnerable to the first strike? Dane shook his head.
Have you forgotten the Tao's Empire official stance already?
What? No! Lina shook her head. Officially, the Empire wants to establish peaceful relations with different powers in the galaxy. Only the unauthorized use of contact with some dangerous thing from our home galaxy could break that promise.
Yes and no,
Dane said, grimacing.
There is one more way for the Tau to go to war without losing face. What is it?
Lina thought for a moment before realization hit. Self-defense, she said, snapping her fingers. That's why you antagonize them. That's why the spy drone is there, just to collect evidence. Niatel smiled, pleased that the young Guela had caught on. Exactly. From our preliminary research, based on information the Republic shared during first contact, we knew the Hutt clans would become our rivals. Our ideologies are incompatible, and they control the space surrounding our own. Expansion is inevitable, which means conflict is inevitable.
But we don't want the rest of the galaxy to get involved,
Dane added.
The Hutts have treaties with almost everyone, even the Republic. Non-aggression pacts, trade agreements, not to mention they had security treaties with the Republic in the past.
He explained.
The Tau can't risk being an aggressor in the upcoming war.
So, Lina said, piecing it together, we have to make them strike first.
Exactly,
Dane said with a satisfied grin.
But their influence is considerable. Our word won't be enough. That's why we need evidence. Real evidence. The drone and this meeting are just step one. We push them just far enough to make a rash move before they realize what we are doing.
I'm already writing anti-slavery speeches that should rattle them, Niatel added calmly. But the final push will come from you, from the Blackthorn dynasty. Lina tensed. Does our lady know?
She does, Dane assured her. She was briefed on the situation and the inevitability of this conflict. In fact, this next part was her idea.
Dane smiled under his nose.
Tell me, girl, what will antagonize the Hutts more than this little talk we just had and the anti-slavery speeches?
Lina again thought for a moment, analyzing potential ways to antagonize their new rivals. Wait. Niatel and Dane were very precise here. It wouldn't be the Tau who antagonize the Hutts, but Blackthorns. Enemies, she said. The Hutts must have enemies. If the Blackthorns start working with them,
they will lash out. At us and the Tau both, Dane confirmed. Got it in one. Bravo.
We can't let them study us at their own pace, Niatel added. We need them to act rashly, to strike without thinking. Yes, we will suffer from the first strike, but it's better than the alternative. The Hutts making the first move on their terms, potentially with the Republic support. I see, Lina said quietly. Then she turned to Dane. So, which of the Hutt's enemies are we contacting?
There are several candidates, Dane said. Silent Tide and I will review the data and send an encrypted message to our Lady Captain. She will make the final decision.
He slowed, eyes focusing on the puddle ahead, and sighed.
Niatel, do you have one of those message discs to spare?
I do. Why you ask?
She asked, puzzled. Just need to leave a message for a certain someone, he said casually. Mind if I use your assistant drone?
She handed it over. In moments, Dane typed out a message on the drone holographic keyboard and loaded it onto a small disk. He stepped outside the protective bubble and found a small gap in the wall, where he placed it before returning.
All right, he said, rejoining the others. The Jedi are visiting us this afternoon. We shouldn't be late.
The woman exchanged a curious glance, but said nothing as they followed him out. Once they disappeared from view, two hooded figures dropped down from rooftops. They had been tailing the trio long before they entered the undercity. Obi-Wan Kenobi looked in the direction the trio had gone, while Anakin moved to the wall and retrieved the disc. "Got it!" the young Jedi said in an excited tone. They slipped into a nearby alley, away from prying eyes.
"Good. We'll take it to the Jedi Temple for decryption," Kenobi began, only to stop as Anakin pressed a button.
"What? It's not encrypted?" Anakin asked, surprised. Kenobi turned to look.
"What does it say?"
Anakin pressed another button. A holographic projection appeared, and his smile immediately dropped. Kenobi read it and let out a long, irritated sigh.
Lesson 8. Following someone using rooftops isn't sneaky. It's the opposite of sneaky. Use crowds or droids next time, you incompetent baboons. Lesson 9. If someone leaves a message disk, obviously meant to be found, Don't pick it up. It could easily be a bomb designed to take your hand off. Best regards, Dane Marek. P.S. The next message disk I leave will be a bomb. Maybe losing a hand or two will stop you from being bloody idiots.
Anakin cursed under his breath. Kenobi opened his mouth to scold him, but thought better of it. The sting of failure was still too fresh.
Let's return to the temple and give a full report,
Kenobi said quietly. Anakin nodded, struggling to contain his frustration. Moments later, the two Jedi vanished into the shadows of the undercity, leaving no trace behind. Ziro exhaled another plume of thick, scented smoke, the curling tendrils dancing in the stale air of his chamber. He waited for the response from the other clans, lounging in his throne-like seat, with the languid confidence of the one who knew his position. Stationed here on Coruscant, the heart of galactic politics, gave him weight that far exceeded his actual power. They wouldn't ignore him. Not now. A few seconds later, the room lit up with a flicker of blue light as his hollow projector came to life. One by one, the Hutt clan leaders appeared before him. Jabba the Hutt, lounging lazily but emanating the arrogant gravitas of a dominant force in the outer rim, stared through the projection with a look of detached confidence. His gaze alone made Ziro's insides burn with envy and rage, but he kept it hidden beneath a practiced smile. Gardula the Elder flickered a fan idly, her eyes sharp and cold with contempt. She was in no mood for games today, not after several of her recent venues collapsed under mysterious circumstances. Gorga Arepo, Ziro's own grandnephew, adjusted his monocle and regarded the others with calm scrutiny. The younger Hutt had always been a pragmatist, his mind a careful clockwork of strategy and patience. Arok offered Ziro a friendly nod, his ever-present pipe filled with Sarakian chariot glowing softly between his lips. From the surroundings in his projection, it appeared he was in one of his luxury palaces in the mid-rim. Oruba, ever the peacock, stood tall with lavish cape draped all around his shoulders. The pompous display couldn't fully conceal the calculating cowardice in his eyes. And finally, Marlo, chewing lazily on the roasted limb of some creature, seemed the least concerned, though his disinterest was often a mask for keen attention. Ziro gave them all a wide smile and a slow, mocking bow. "Esteemed members of the Grand Hutt Council," he began, voice oozing with theatrical gravitas. "I thank you for joining me on such short notice."
Ubadow wam che wama kili umbawa GGG Ziro.
Gardula snapped, her eyes narrowing.
Uba PG Mukamita Pechu.
Ziro ignored the jab, focusing on Jabba.
"It's the Tau. They want to expand. Discreetly, arrogantly, refusing to acknowledge that they are now operating within our sphere of influence. They smile, bow, and then claim neutrality. But I assure you, they are planting seeds. Seeds of conquest."
"To naga che bumawanga,"
Arok interjected.
"No chadopa upewer no ka. No concha no stupa jibola."
"No, not yet,"
Ziro agreed.
But they made it clear they intend to expand. Peacefully, they say. But we all know what that means in a political language.
Jabba let out a deep chuckle.
Ho ho ho! Ziro ubajus tuk shadowanga. Tau dubola, dziecka hi łamna jewar. Dopatrze do bata, peczucie empire. Pominujela doczpanka, łachi szako.
Not yet,
Ziro repeated, his voice colder now.
But how long until they do? How long until they push into our trade routes, establish colonies, or start undermining our business with their little crusade against slavery?
That earned a collective stir from the group.
They've already made waves on Coruscant,
Ziro added.
Subtle rhetoric. They are probing the environment, checking if the Republic will do anything to stop them, or even slow them down. Soon they shall push the line, trying to find out how far it can go. I say we need to push on them before they even try.
Gardula sneered.
Ubadofwana duka? GGG Arien Wanga Minolina Pikachi Daiwa. Unpachji Galactica Winsin U Indalistikan?
No, not us,
Ziro said smoothly.
A third party, a proxy, one of our pirate clients. We hit a minor Tau outpost, just enough to scare them, push them back to the negotiating table. Our table.
The Hutt Council exchanged looks. It was clear they weren't fully convinced, but they also didn't dismiss the idea out of hand.
Haku Piwaka.
Marlo asked, leaning forward, finally taking interest.
I was thinking someone disposable. Ravax Vered,
Ziro replied.
Unstable, violent, powerful, and, most importantly, not traceable. Let him loose. If he fails, we deny involvement. If he succeeds, the Tau back off.
Pichu amadumpa jum jum.
Oruba muttered.
Tau juna ikomonosa nagabuna jiska. Gino bata alis hida republik. Ki jiji wachuma wama otirim panka doku.
Yes,
Ziro hissed.
And if we wait, they will have treaties. Then we won't be able to touch them. This is our best window. Now, while they are still tasting the waters.
Silence followed. A heavy, tense silence. Then Jabba spoke, low and deliberate.
Wamanolina wo Ziro. Pero ubadubula Gino bata tiji dubuta otu. Dupa wansu reidroida. Findaki chuba gopa.
Ubadoka koloni peczuda outpost.
Marlo nodded his agreement.
Umpa bata no dub chuba var.
Arok gave a reluctant nod.
Pivaka jituka. Tiji bata. Dog piji kachuba pika. Una koloni. Una outpost. Notaji.
Gorga let out a satisfied grunt.
Unpa bundarit panka dof. Bojaba cizami ducha finda kichuba bata. Gigi dov organize droida jum jum. PGC do agree?
Jabba asked, looking over the council members. All sounded their agreement. It wasn't exactly what he wanted, but Ziro couldn't complain.
So be it,
Ziro said, smiling.
Chubaki,
Jabba rumbled.
Tuka Piwaka, Gigi do Patruga, Kuchaka Jiju, Suna Pechu Dufwana Duka Hi Jetao.
I will do as the council commands.
Ziro bowed his head, hiding his disdain for Jabba. The holograms shimmered and blinked out, one by one, until Ziro was alone. He leaned back, savoring the moment. He took a breath of narcotic smoke and released it up towards the ceiling. Nothing was there, not to the naked eye. But high above, clinging to the shadows of the ornate ceiling architecture, a small spy drone remained. Its insect-like legs hooked into crevices, its stealth field shimmering imperceptibly. It observed and recorded every sound, every face, every word. And then, without a sound, it slipped silently into the dark.